Testing, testing, City Council special meeting, 7/20/2018.
our minds off.
Just okay. My name's Bill LeBron. Excuse me? The guy that arrested me. Yeah, hardcore.
Let me see. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the special City Council meeting, July 20th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Berry?
Here.
Councilmember Del Rosario?
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley?
Here.
Councilmember Draper?
Here.
Councilmember Thompson? Vice Mayor Goodson?
Here.
Mayor Delmeyer?
Councilman Hatley, would you please lead us out in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hatley. The council will now convene to
Madam
close.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
If I could interject, I'd like to rearrange the order of the agenda to get the business of the day handled first and then go into closed session at the end if we can.
Council, did you hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's fine.
Is that agreeable with everyone?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item 3, action to rescind motion to adopt resolution to censor the mayor. Chief, I believe that you have a report.
Yes, the staff report has been included with the agenda packet regarding the rescission of the censure of the mayor that occurred on July 10, 2017 or 2018. Prior to getting into that, I'd like to cover some of the rules of order of the council and also of the public that's viewing the council and everything else. What I've been observing over the last few months is that our council meetings have been deteriorating, becoming less civil and less civil. We are here to conduct the people's business.
I'm going to ask you, excuse me, I'm going to ask you to speak into the mic a little more clearer. Thank you.
I'm sorry, usually I'm loud enough, so. What I've covered so far is just the civility of the council meetings and how it has been deteriorating over the last few months. There's been a very contentious issue, the cannabis issue, and it has polarized two sides of the community. That has unfortunately spilled into all of the other business that the council has been conducting. So in order just to clarify what each of our roles and our responsibilities are in these council meetings and what our role and responsibility is as citizens of the community, I have included some rules. I have also concluded a etiquette and decorum form that people can look at. It kind of just lays down some general ground rules. Those are both available over here. Anybody that would like one is welcome to have one. Just to go back to where our rules come from, in 2011, we adopted Rosenberg's Rules of Order. We do not operate under Robert's Rules of Order. So there are certain motions and format that we follow following that. Those are over here, the motions are over there, what is necessary for those motions, what those motions mean. I've also provided the council a copy of that. I think it's very important as we move forward that we all begin to respect one another better than what we've been doing. We need to be attentive listeners, active listeners. Our community that comes to the meetings also need to be attentive and active listeners. We're not here to come up either to the podium or sit on the dais and have a diatribe about what our personal feelings are. We are here conducting the people's business, all of the people of Oroville, not our own personal agenda or our own personal business. So I would just remind everybody of that. I'd like to go over the public meeting and public hearing etiquette and decorum that will be posted in the council chambers as well, so that we all stay on the same page. One of those is shutting our cell phones off. As you can hear the one behind me now. I mean, I'm not being critical of whoever, and I'm not even going to point out who it was, but those types of interruptions have occurred from the audience, but it's also occurred from the dais. So we need to make sure that our cell phones are shut off, they're turned upside down, and we're here conducting the people's business. So I'm just going to go over these just real quickly, and then we can move on to the business that we're here to do. The first rule is that all comments must be recognized. I'm just going to steer off this serious subject for a minute for a non-serious one. My glasses don't work. My arms aren't long enough or short enough, so I can't read with my glasses on. I can't read with them off. Now back to the serious business. All comments must be recognized by the chairperson and addressed through the microphone. The reason why we want them addressed through the microphone and recognized by the chairperson is so that we know that we're talking to that individual, so that the comments can be heard by the audience. And these meetings are also recorded, and they're also broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook. One of the most common comments that you see on these forums is that we can't hear. So I don't think people are coming to these meetings to watch them. They're coming to hear what is the business of the people that was conducted. So it's very important that you come up and you speak into the microphone. When speaking to the council, we would like people to stand, speak slowly, unlike I'm doing, and clearly into the microphone, and state their name for the record. We just need to know who you are. If you want to walk up here and say, I'm Bill, okay, so we know we talked to a Bill. This is one of the important ones that I think is important, is that we want to be respectful of others and refrain from disruption during the meetings. We want people to keep their conversations, if you're in the audience, at a very low tone and only minimal that are necessary, not a debate back and forth about the issue. If you have a comment, you need to come to the microphone and make that to the council. And keep in mind, all of these microphones are very sensitive. It hears what you're saying and broadcasts it out there, and sometimes those things can be embarrassing. I'm not going to say a victim of that. I'm a perpetrator of that crime, because sometimes things are uttered that don't necessarily everybody else needs to hear. We want to avoid verbal approval and dissatisfaction of ongoing discussion. What I mean by that is we don't need crosstalk when you're debating the issue. We respectfully wait for the other person to stop. We don't need the audience interjecting with inappropriate comments from their seats. We also want to avoid verbal approval and dissatisfaction of ongoing discussion. No booing, no hissing. Applause isn't appropriate for the council meeting. This is the public's business. I understand from time to time there are things that are very emotional, and I understand that there are things that make us very happy, and from time to time I understand these things will happen, but it's becoming a regular habit here. And what I've seen from my own personal observation is, depending on what the issue is and what side of that issue that you're on, we're applauding both ways. I mean, so we've turned this into a spectacle as opposed to conducting the people's business. Exhibit and photos that are presented, those become the property of the city. They become property of or part of the record. So if you present them, don't expect to get them back. We will certainly do everything we can to accommodate folks, and we will make copies. We will do everything we can, but there are times that we need them. We need to keep our comments constructive and not destructive. I mean, this is not a public forum where we are to engage in personal attacks upon one another, conduct vendettas, or campaign for office. This is the public, where the public comes and the council comes to conduct the people's business. We must stick to those things. It's not for any other purpose other than that. We ask people to please silence their cell phones, and it just actually came up. I'm not picking on nobody. Electronic devices and other noise-making devices, whatever those may be. So just please, as you come through the doors, please make sure to do that. Be considerate of others when speaking and limiting your comments to what the item is and what is a reasonable length. We ask people to refrain from gathering in the foyer as they're leaving, because it becomes very loud in here. It's difficult to hear what's being said. We ask each person, too, that addresses the council to not make it personal. Impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks to any of the council members, staff, or general public. We need to be civil with one another. I mean, the issues that we face in Oroville are great and many, and are going to take a concerted effort on all of our parts. And there are going to be things that part of the community don't agree with, part of the community does agree with. There'll be things that the council agrees with that I don't agree with. However, we are here conducting the people's business for all the good of everybody in Oroville. So we need to make sure that we do that. That is just kind of an overview of these rules. They are available for people's review. If there's not enough copies, I'm more than happy to make some. I just want to get back to a very civil meeting where we can conduct the people's business, not become personal, and understand what our rules are. It is proper, if you read our rules, that when the conversation strays from what the business of the day is, that whomever is speaking, whether it's council or it's somebody at the podium, that they be brought back to the business of the day. I mean, and interruption sometimes is necessary for that. This is not a platform for whatever issue that you may be pushing or not pushing. This is to conduct the people's business. We very much want the public's input and their comment, but we need to limit it to what we're talking about at that particular time. So with that, we'll move to the business of the day. The business of the day that we have in front of us today is the withdrawal of the censure. The council took the action to censure Mayor Dallmeyer on July 10, 2018. Pursuant to the government code, the council is voted to add the item as an emergency item. After looking into all of the aspects of this, it has been decided by the council that we should bring this into the public's, or bring this back before the council and have the council take action on whether the council wishes to rescind this item or if the council wishes to let it stand. And with that, I am going to yield the floor and sit down.
Thank you very much, Chief. We have two speakers, public comment on this agenda item. Mr. Spanger, you're first, and following you will be Bobby O'Reilly.
Hi, my name is Fred Spinger, and I thought long and hard about what I was going to say today, and I wanted to start out by commending everybody on the council, the mayor and everybody even that isn't here, what a job you guys have and what you're doing, and how much I personally appreciate it, and I'm sure most of the citizens do too. It's hard. It's sometimes, I'm sure, a thankless job, but I appreciate it very much. I don't want to give my opinion on this because I don't think...
Excuse me.
Yes.
Mr. Spanger,
Not close
could you
enough?
please? Thank you very much.
I don't want to give my opinion on what's happening now because I think an opinion without being a fully informed opinion is not really worth much. I'd like to talk about what you were talking about. Mainly my problem is, and I feel this very deeply, when someone points out a council member by name and then starts using adjectives and even names calling them, I feel that is wrong. And you mentioned that needs to be called out to bring the whole procedure back in. But I would...
Spanger, I'd have to interrupt you at that point. That's not the business of the day that we're here to talk about. That was editorial on civility. Today we're here to talk about the recension of the censure is the item.
I understand. And I'll stop now. I'll just ask one question. Whose job is it to bring the meeting back into order?
It's usually conducted by the parliamentarian, which is Mr. Huber, who is not here, so it's advocated to me today.
And I thank you for doing that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Spanger.
Good morning, Bobby O'Reilly. So, I just want to make it known that A notice of a special meeting was dated July 18th, 2018. Special meetings require 24 hours. However, this is a warning that special meetings are held to deal with specific business so urgent it cannot wait until the next regularly scheduled meeting. The Brown Act requires that special meeting agendas be posted 24 hours in advance. Special meetings are not a safety net for regular meetings that did not get posted on time. For example, if you missed the 72-hour agenda deadline for a regular meeting, you cannot simply relabel it as a special meeting in order to shorten the posting deadline to 24 hours. At the council meeting on July 10th, when this topic was brought up, Linda Draper said, "We have done plenty of talking about it, and I think it is an emergency, therefore violating the Brown Act. The members that voted in favor, therefore violated the Brown Act." The censure document was prepared the day of the council meeting, but had been discussed days prior. Draper's reason was, and I quote, "This is intended to prevent possible liability. The public has a right to know about the behavior of their elected officials." From her interview with the Oroville Mercury Register, she says there is a very real possibility that former employees could sue the city 1 to 2 years after leaving, and this was a way to try to mitigate that. She says, and I quote, "We felt like the sooner we made this statement, the better, because the staff has low morale. We wanted to show them that we support them and we want this behavior to stop." She also goes to say,
Riley, could I interject for a moment, please? Do you have a comment regarding the recension today? Or do you have this is a dissertation of what's happened?
Absolutely.
Could you get to your comment, please?
I'm going to finish exactly what I have written here.
I would like you to get to your comment, please, sir.
She says, "We're not under any legal duty to protect a council member who has misbehaved. There should be transparency, and the public should be made aware of how their public officials are behaving. My question is then, if you did not violate the Brown Act, then why rescind the resolution? Also, you talk about transparency and the public right to know about their elected officials. However, you have done substantially more damaging and illegal behavior while in that elected seat than the mayor has in 8 years, including but not limited to violating the Brown Act multiple times, violating community members' First Amendment rights, and more. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You refuse to prove you are not in the wrong with the actions taken, that you did not violate the Brown Act, and do not want to litigate it in order to say, and quote, save precious city resources, funds, and staff time. Yet you waste city money constantly with outside contracts, consultants."
Excuse me, Mr. O'Reilly. Your time is up. Thank you. I'm looking for a motion.
I move that we adopt a resolution withdrawing and voiding the censure of Mayor Dahlmeyer taken on July 10th, 2018. Whereas on July 10th, 2018, at a special city council meeting and pursuant to Government Code 52954.2, the city council voted to add an item to the existing agenda to censure Mayor Dahlmeyer. And whereas the City Council received correspondence alleging a violation of the Brown Act with a demand to cure and correct the action taken, and whereas the Council believes that it was within the bounds of the Brown Act to have taken the action to add the censure to the agenda, and whereas the Council believes that it would be a waste of resources, effort, and funds to litigation for this matter to a successful conclusion in favor of the city, whereas the council, without admitting any violation of the Brown Act and in the firm belief that its actions taken were proper and within the bounds of the law, has elected to withdraw the prior action to avoid any unnecessary litigation and to place the city's effort and focus on moving the city forward. Be it hereby resolved by the City Council as follows. The censure of Mayor Dahlmeyer approved on July 10th, 2018 is hereby withdrawn and void. A copy of the July 10th, 2018 resolution of censure is attached hereto as Exhibit A.
I second that.
was on. I'm on.
Voting's open.
Resolution passes.
Thank you, Jackie. Moving on to item 4, adopt resolution to censor the mayor. Council will consider adopting a resolution. I'm going to move forward at this time with public comment. The first one is from Pastor Steve Terry.
I'm short. I have to move it forward. Steve Terry, resident. Good morning. I must absolutely first start with thanking the chief for what he said. You've often heard me say civility is important. And while I often disagree with the council, I will never attack people, and I don't believe that should ever be done. To that point, number 4, we've just rescinded a motion to censor. I know that everyone here believes that you have reason to censure. I disagree with you. Personal opinion. I disagree with that. Now here's my question. What are we going to do right now? In light of what the chief just said also. Civility, decorum, I've seen it abused on all sides. Are we going to just continue that? If we pass that, that's basically what we're doing. We're just going to continue it. You don't agree with what the mayor said? I don't agree with a lot of what had been said. Okay, that's opinions. This is a forum of public opinion and public business. Let's get down to the public business and stop this.
Next speaker is William Bynum.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I want to also thank Chief Legrone. I thought that was very appropriate. Appreciate it. My remarks are, a hostile work environment is a serious matter. It can ruin people's lives and make the day-to-day activities of work miserable. I am here to commend the 5 city councilors who are taking a stand to end the hostility that has been taking place between the mayor and the city staff and the mayor and the rest of the council. I have witnessed examples of the mayor's bullying firsthand. I've heard her publicly berate city staff and accuse them of colluding against her. I have seen her sharply cut off speakers who disagree with her and allow those who did agree with her to go on and on. I have seen the mayor filibuster when an issue came up that she had a problem with and continue to dominate the microphone at the expense of other councilors. I have heard her cut off fellow councilors and call them liars. I was here when the mayor tried to shorten the vice mayor's tenure by a year and then blamed the staff for what she did. I was here when it was revealed that she came to an agreement with DWR without consulting the rest of the council. I saw the emails from the mayor and the water contractors that showed that the mayor was getting her talking points from the water contractors and therefore was representing them instead of her constituents. In summation, I must say I am proud of Mr. Hatley, Mr. Berry, Ms. Goodson, Ms. Del Rosario, and Ms. Draper. You have represented yourselves with dignity. I know that this can be a thankless job. I'm here to commend all 5 of you for continuing to do the right thing in the face of unwarranted criticism from a small minority. Thank you.
Bobby O'Reilly.
We just heard a recension of a censure and then an immediate resolution or possible resolution to censure again. We heard from Chief at the beginning of the meeting that he wants it to get back to civility, and the personal attacks and the other stuff to stop. Now, my question is, how do you censure a single individual for doing the same things that you yourself do? And I'm not saying that to be mean or rude. I'm saying it has happened on all sides. If you come to reality, if you take a look at meetings that have been recorded and you watch closely and listen and watch the eye rolling and watch the facial expressions and hear the comments that are recorded on the microphones, it has happened on all sides. I can honestly say, and I've said it before, the only people you don't hear bicker or do this stuff are these two gentlemen right here, and Scott when he's here. You don't hear from them unless it's an important matter. Get back to the matter of the people and stop this stuff. The censure is not appropriate. Everybody has done what they are accusing one individual, the mayor, of doing. So if we're going to go down the route of censuring one person, let's censure everybody.
Don Foltz.
Good morning. Most of us have experienced the horrors of a hostile work environment. It can be very difficult to stand up to bullying behavior when it's coming from the top down. If you do stand up, you have to trust that others will join you in speaking the truth. Such courage is not engendered by a single abusive event, although straws do eventually break camels' backs. Typically, it's a well-worn pattern of abuse that left unabated only gets worse. In this case, 5 of the 7 had enough of the pattern, saw it getting worse, and dared to speak the truth by casting a vote of censure. May their courage remain united. The dissenting opinions came from the mayor, who stands accused of creating the discord, and a supporter who has never ventured beyond the mayor's leash. This legal counsel that represents or allegedly represents Oroville has blamed the victims for leaving the city open to litigation, when in fact it is the mayor leaving the city open to litigation. I hope political shenanigans have not caused a vote to flip. 5 of you know what the right thing is. Thank you.
Pamela, and I wasn't sure of your last name.
Good morning, Council. My name is Pamela Kasner. First time I've stood up. I am a resident of the city, a voting resident. I don't have a strong opinion about the reasons why you might do a censure, because I'm not privileged to know all the things that you know. I am aware of the public information of how this censure has occurred. It has saddened me horribly to see what the City Council has evolved to. Whether or not the censure was deserved, it certainly was not handled in the appropriate way. I just want to express how disheartened I am by the politics of the city. I truly appreciated what the chief said this morning. It heartened me to have that verbally stated to the public and to the council. I'm sorry that the other 2 council members were not here to hear that also, but hopefully they'll watch it on YouTube or get a copy of it in their packets. So I just want you to know that there are some of us, like myself, out there that are usually very quiet, who have become extremely discouraged by what I'm seeing the council do.
Tammy Lofton?
I'm a 3rd grade teacher, and in our school we teach our students to stand up to bullies, to be courageous upstanders, to speak out when someone exhibits a pattern of relentless and intentional cruel acts. In this case, the bully is Linda Dahlmeyer and her supporters in the audience. At the last meeting, those self-proclaimed do-gooders called Mrs. Draper a female dog and said she should just shut up. They were allowed to argue and to interrupt Mrs. Draper. Did Linda Dahlmeyer stop the bullying? No. In fact, it's my belief she coordinated it.
Ms. Lofton, if I could we go to the business of the day? I understand your...
If this is the business of the day.
The business of the day is the censure.
That's right. And I'm showing evidence for that.
Well,
if this is the way she treats her fellow council members, then I imagine the loss of several city members is due to her ill treatment of them. She has also been the mouthpiece for DWR through a state water contractor spokesperson, Allison MacLeod. I've read the 50-some pages wherein Dahlmeyer received her talking points before and after the evacuation. This has been substantiated through her own emails. She openly prays with Billy Spears showing a specific religious preference and has tried to circumvent Mrs. Goodson's vice mayor position from a 2-year to a 1-year term. I do not know Art Hatley or Jack Berry, but I would not want to sit across from them at a poker table since they rightly play it close to the vest and exhibit a staunch stoicism when Mrs. Dahlmeyer's group starts proselytizing. I know of the 3 ladies, Linda Dahlmeyer, Janet Goodson, and Marlene Del Rosario. I know that Linda Draper is not only a spiritual religious person, but she actively does good works. She is rational and presents a demeanor of neutrality. Janet Goodson is also one who lives by her beliefs but doesn't wear it on her sleeve to gather kudos. Marlene Del Rosario is a champion of the underdog and has lived her life championing those less fortunate. It is a difficult duty to sit on the city council and take the hits of those who cast stones but are not blameless. I am proud of these 5 city council members. However, I am not proud of the way in which Mrs. Dahlmeyer has publicly called others liars and embarrassed our city council members. Should she have been publicly censored? I think she should have been publicly censored since she tried to publicly shame council members. It's a time for a change in mayoral leadership, one who is civil publicly and privately. Enough of incivility and a hostile work environment. Stop the bullying of city council members and city workers. Thank you.
Pamela Lees.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm actually a person that lives in the county. I don't come to a lot of meetings, but I can assure you that I'm aware of what goes on as I watch on streaming. One doesn't need to attend every council meeting to be aware of the hostile work environment at the City Hall. You could even just go in this room over here and feel it. Watching streaming of council meetings is very informative, perhaps more so than being at a meeting and hearing people's comments and phones, whatnot. Because you can see how the leadership is carried out. You can see what is happening without the sidelines. Whether from misunderstanding, mishearing, or something is, whether misunderstandings are from mishearing or misunderstanding, it's evident that our attorney is not giving guidance where it's necessary. He was here to hear a lot of people be called names. He was here to, when the censure was happening, and he didn't interfere. He's paid to interfere and to offer guidance. And that wasn't done, and it makes me wonder why he didn't do this. He certainly saw it. Everyone did. So that he doesn't step in from time to time as members are berated or called out in public hearings, it is totally inexcusable. The mayor's leadership skills are in question here, as are the city attorneys. And as far as some of the other members or people in the audience speaking, you know, we aren't clairvoyants. You know, we need to read and we need to watch, and that's, oh, not my time. But thank you for letting me speak. I support this council. I find these people refreshing and very fair. Thanks.
Stan Bunstock.
Thank you. My name's Stan Bunstock. I want to thank you folks present for doing what you do. And I really appreciate it. And I just want you to know that we back you. The majority of the people do back you. Thank you.
The last speaker on this item is Irma Jordan.
Good morning. I'm Irma Jordan. I'm Butte County's NAACP president, and we do advocacy work. And I see here that we have people on the council that are trying to make us aware of what's going on and hold others responsible for their actions. We advocate for unfairness and things that are treating people being treated wrongly. So I'm not going to comment on anything in particular. I just want to leave you with this, that the C in council should represent city and community, and that the M in mayor does not mean Messiah or Maza. Thank you.
Pastor Bill Spear.
At this time, if anybody wishes to speak, they need to put in their blue slip. Otherwise, we are not accepting any more blue slips when Mr. Spear is done.
Thank you, City Council. I'm honored to be here today to speak, to let my voice be heard also. You know, there's a lot of issues, and we do need, you know, the most valuable thing we have is time. And, you know, we spend a lot of time wasted on arguing and fighting, getting our focus on what's really important is, you know, taking care of our city. And, you know, our mayor's been the mayor for 8 years. And, you know, the way that this started out, you know, against the recommendations of the attorney. And then even this morning, you know, a 9 o'clock meeting, you know, a lot of people work, and, you know, this is highly irregular to take a big portion of the working people not being able to come and speak on something that you guys should be able to just work out and get along. Because of the issues, a lot of people feel strongly on one side or the other, all the way down to the people that work for the city. Everyone's taken aside, and it's not just in Oroville, it's in our whole country. And we see each other as the enemies, and the lines are drawn, and it just makes it get worse and worse. Feeling weaponizing our government, you know, being told that, you know, our comments aren't appreciated when we're speaking on issues. You know, that we should encourage each other, the citizens, to come and speak up, not be told that we're bullies, or because we're looking at it this way that, you know, on either side, that our opinions aren't important. It's important to get our city working together, we are all citizens of the same city, and everybody's opinions are valuable. Everybody's input is important, and we cannot continue to divide, and a house divided cannot stand. The faith-based community is important. The secular community is important. Our mayor has served the city for 8 years, and we can get along. This is just going to continue to to divide our city. It's not going to help anything goes forward. It's going to be more injury, more of the line drawn. You're on this side, we're on that side.
Time.
And this is the last. Norm Cable.
It says here, council versus mayor. Who's here representing the council? Do we have an attorney in this room? Who's here representing the mayor? Is there an attorney in this room?
Do you have a comment you'd like to make, Mr.? This is your time to make comment.
Okay. The comment is, how can we even carry on a meeting without an attorney? And we have a firm that represents this city who is negligent in their duty.
Mr. Cable, do you have a comment regarding the item of the day?
Yes. Is that the item of the day should not even be carried on without, they're in violation of the contract. This board right now and the attorney's firm, they're in violation of running a proper meeting. This is not a proper meeting. You don't have a firm to represent the people here and to represent the council. Okay? What we're over here is we're frailing. That is the comment.
Thank you, sir.
Public comment is closed. I'm looking for a motion.
I move we adopt resolution number 8719.
Second.
Voting is open.
Motion passed.
If there's nothing else, the council will adjourn to closed session.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Oh, yeah, and so we just met. You did a fantastic job. Okay, closed session. Oh, and very rapidly, too.
Thank you, Don. Your comments. Thank you.
censured?
8718 was this resolution.
I gotta change. Okay, they just voted on 8749. I thought it was 19.
8718 and 8719. They just did both of them.
So 87.
Paperwork showing what they did today?
The minutes?
19.
The minutes?
Yeah, whatever. The minutes?
They'll.
Well, not the minutes, the paperwork they gave you when you come in.
Oh, the agenda, it's up there.
Right over here.
But there was also the rules of order. The rules of order here.
That's bullying. They can provide a brief answer or explanation at the end, but they cannot be interrupted.
There's a great big sheet of Robert's rules.
Last meeting, I was told. I don't appreciate my comment.
They shouldn't have carried this meeting out without stopping. Scheduled at the last minute. There was no grounds for it to be placed on a special meeting. Based on a regular meeting. Well, they have the right to do it.
He did, and they didn't back down.
He very clearly expressed that himself, as well as our city attorney, Scott Huber, advised that doing that.
Checking the wheels.
Because I wrote a letter demanding a pure and correct, and that was for the brand to the city council. So when you violate that, you have the right to pure and correct, and if they don't correct it, then they're going to be so each of them have a and for violating rights, and they just violated a
Once you see. Yeah. Exactly. The mayor's up for election.
Not us, not the public meeting.
So then there'll be a vacant position.
She'll be here anyway.
Yeah, see, because she still has 2 years left. I ran for mayor. My term was up with the council, so I didn't.
They do, the full resolutions are on the
Anyway.
and also.
I mean, I've been there, I know how contentious things were. Not necessarily. Well, yeah, they're close to being like Monday. 3 hours in the morning.
They're closed every Friday, Friday,
And how did she do that?
because of staff,
1 o'clock in the morning.
staff had to use that.
The council is back from closed session. No action was taken, direction was given. The next city council meeting will be held on August the 7th, 2018. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I don't.
You did a marvelous job.
Thank you. What time do you